impossible, even for a computer.
It's not impossible. I used to bullseye Womp rats in my T-16 back home. They're not much bigger than T-meters.
Hello and welcome to the Womp
Greetings.
Rat Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Ochoa.
And I'm your other host, Brian Ochoa. And I kind of have a list of apologies that I have to make real quick. The first one is I kind of woke up with a pretty bad cold today. So my voice...
How dare you?
My voice might be a little squeaky at times. And
He's going through puberty.
I'm going through puberty at a very late age. And, but I apologize if while I'm talking I need to kind of like stop and like kind of cough to the side and stuff like that. But sometimes when I have a bad cough, like my voice starts to go like this, like when I start talking a lot.
Your
So
sentences.
I kind of have to do little breaks and stuff like that. But you know, I'm ready to talk about Star Wars, and nothing can stop me from that.
There you go.
Even if I didn't have a voice right now, I would be doing hand
We'd
signals
just be
to
doing
you.
sign languages.
We'd do
and then
sign
just
language, and then I would hire
subtitle
someone.
everything.
I'd buy my own C3, unit to basically,
C3 unit. There you go.
basically finish this podcast for us and keep talking about it. But the second thing also is if you watched our last video, towards the end, we wanted to show kind of a cool clip of the Skrillex show that I had where he played the John Williams score live.
Yeah, that was such a cool clip.
You live, you learn, and we weren't thinking, and YouTube took it off because of copyright reasons of that song.
Which, I mean, it's understandable.
Which I actually remember too. I heard in somebody else's YouTube video that usually YouTube, they have an automatic system where it checks like the first couple minutes of your whatever you're uploading and the last couple of minutes. So we had it right at the end.
Right at the
so
end.
So it probably automatically could just tell.
Took me 7 hours to upload the video, and then
the
whole thing was muted.
That goes with our third apology, which is we're sorry that we uploaded the video so late. We had a bunch of technical difficulties with that, and but we're still very new to this. This is our 4th episode, but our biggest goal is to still release these episodes about every Tuesday of every week. And we're kind of getting more used to this and faster at it. So to get the content to you guys quicker.
I feel like it's getting better.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? We're only in the 4th episode, and I've been having a blast doing this. I've been looking up to doing each episode. And what I'm really excited about is meeting new people, new commenters or just YouTubers. I can't wait till we start getting comments and questions that we can read on the podcast and kind of interact with people.
Definitely.
Because one great thing about Star Wars is that it's so great to it's a good tool to connect with people and just
it has such a large community to it.
There's a huge community to it, and a lot of people there's a lot you can relate to Star Wars and whatnot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I mean, it's bigger than just a franchise. I mean, it's a big part of a lot of people's lives, and it's a big part of our life.
Definitely. Oh yeah. I can talk Star Wars all day, especially when I'm at work and I finally meet someone that's into Star Wars or comic books.
Yeah.
I can finally just sit there and just talk about it. You almost have to stop me because I can't stop talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go ahead and get into our show. So today, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be reviewing Rebels Episode 2, Fight or Flight, I believe it's called. And I really enjoyed this episode. I thought I wasn't going to enjoy it as much as the first one because I love the fact that the first one had C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yeah, it had some characters that you already know you can relate to. And this was really, besides the mini movie, which was an introduction of the characters, this was really the first episode of kind of this group of characters in a way.
Yeah.
To where it's all new characters.
New characters and stuff. Yeah, definitely. But this episode was fantastic. I loved it. I loved the overall pacing of it, the cinematography of it. There's a lot of things that happen in it, both comedy-wise and just awesomeness-wise that I really enjoyed. And I'll go into details there. But let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and start it with a synopsis for those of you who have seen it or who haven't seen it that, just need a freshening up on it and whatnot. Basically, the episode was focused on Zeb and Ezra. It was started out basically with them fighting. And so, due to their fighting, Hera kicked them off the ship, the Ghost, and told them to collect supplies together to get them to kind of bond. And so, while doing this, she wanted them to also collect something called a Melurun. Melurun. It's some type of fruit.
Yeah, it's a type of rare fruit that does not grow on the planet that they're currently on. But Hera knew this, and this was kind of like her plan to
get them to stay there for
get them to stay there for a while. Basically, get them out of her hair because they've been annoying her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and in doing so, Ezra meets someone by the name of Mr. Samir, I believe. Is that
sounds about right?
Once again, we're bad with names.
Yeah.
So, but that sounds about right, Samir or something like that. He's an old family friend, and then Ezra actually finds the fruit by bumping into a box of it, but comes to find out that it was already bought by the Imperials.
Yep.
So Ezra, being Ezra, decided, let's steal one. Goes to steal it, gets caught by stormtroopers, and then Zeb pretty much saves his life there, and then from there they steal a TIE fighter, which was one of the awesome parts, which I'll go into detail about later. But they steal Zeb steals a TIE fighter while saving Ezra, and then after that, after they get away from the Imperials, they find out the Imperials captured Mr. Samir, his old-time friend, or blew up his house. And from there, they go and save him. And then after that, they basically come back to the ship, and they have this new bond together. Mm-hmm. And that's the focus of this whole episode, is that bond that they share going throughout everything. And now after that, that's synopsis. That's basically what happens throughout the episode. Now we're going to go into more detail about it.
Yeah. But I want to say, too, we forgot to mention this, too, is that these reviews that we're doing are going to be very spoiler-heavy. I'm sorry we didn't warn before that, because there might have been little potential spoilers in that
We'll put that in the title. We'll put spoiler review.
But, yeah. We are pretty much... we're not behind, but... kind of we are. Like, we aren't reviewing, like, the latest episode right away.
When our podcast comes out, the new episode will already be out.
It will already be out, and we'll be talking about the last episode. And really, right now, that's because of our time, just, the time between us and when we can get together and do this podcast. Mm-hmm. But that's not all a negative thing. That's actually a good thing, too, it gives people plenty of time to watch this episode. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who are just as busy as us with work and whatnot. In life
really.
They can't watch these episodes right away, so it gives you some time to watch the episode, and then when you finish the episode, then you can check out this podcast and whatnot. But before we get into a little bit more in detail, we were kind of looking, and we usually like to kind of say some news before we get into whatever our reviews are at the end of our podcast, and there wasn't too much going on right now. That was crazy. I was talking with you, like, kind of saying, like, well, we could maybe go, because we didn't go too much into detail on our thoughts on episode 7. We mentioned it a little bit in the first episode.
Yeah.
But the thing about that is, I was thinking, well, maybe we can save that for a podcast with a special guest or something like that, with one of our other friends, where they can come in and we could do the questions with them like we usually do.
Set the podcast as a discussion.
Yeah, like I said, as a discussion. And just looking how we did last podcast, I mean, these episodes, there's so many great points to talk about in these episodes. Good,
there is, yeah.
Positive or negative, that can be mentioned in a 45-minute to hour podcast.
Yeah.
So we're going to just focus mainly on fight or flight today. But very quickly, just a small thing that I actually scrolled through and saw today on various of journalist websites. They're talking about that they found their official cinematographer for Gareth Edwards.
Oh, okay, yes.
Because Gareth Edwards, if you don't know, he's one of the directors that's going to direct one of the spin-off films for Star Wars.
Yes.
And, he was officially announced by Star Wars. And he's the one who just directed Godzilla,
yeah.
Which I really enjoyed that movie.
It was a good film.
There was some problems I had with that, but, leave that for its own thing. But overall, I really enjoyed his movie, and I'm really interested in what spin-off film he's going to do.
Yeah.
And another episode too, where I would really like us to kind of go into detail on, like, what our dream spin-off films would be, what we would really like to see, because we're coming to an age where we're gonna have a new Star Wars movie like every year. Like
that's what it seems like.
That's crazy.
It seems like that's gonna be their focus point.
Yeah,
releasing something every year about. But do we have anything for what they're? I know they're releasing. They're going to be talking about a Yoda film. Am I right?
Oh, well, the highest rumored one is a Boba Fett film.
Boba Fett.
And Han Solo film. Those are the two highest.
Oh, those are two.
But Yoda's been rumored before, and Obi-Wan's been rumored before.
That's what I was going to say.
But yeah, we'll save that discussion for a later podcast. But back to that topic, the cinematographer is Greig Fraser, I believe. And I don't know too much about him. I kind of just looked him up on IMDb. But I guess he's known for doing cinematography for Zero Dark 30.
Good film.
And let's see. And Snow White and the Huntsman.
Never seen it.
Let Me In. And then Killing Them Softly. I actually did not see. I saw Zero Dark 30. Yeah, I saw most of it, but it was one of those things where it was like on HBO, and I just kind of catched it mid. Yeah, mid while I was watching it.
Yeah, I watched it. It's a good film.
Yeah, it is a good film, and that's. I mean, when I think Zero Dark 30, it kind of has that.
It has a
darkness to it.
Tone to it. Yeah.
So, and Gareth Edwards, I almost feel like maybe this is the guy who is leaning more towards a Han Solo film.
Yeah.
Or actually, he could be Bounty Hunter, because that's dark stuff if you're gonna make a bounty hunter your hero.
Hunter, mercenary.
And and if you're gonna follow his story, I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that they go with a darker tone with this. Yeah. Being a spin-off film of, like, if it was a Boba Fett film, like a darker tone for Yoda, I'm not sure how much that would work. Or if that would work as well. Yeah. But especially for being Boba Fett or even Han Solo, I think that would be a good route to take it, almost kind of like a Dark Knight route.
Yeah.
Kind of reintroduce the character in a more modern, I guess, relatable style that you can call it.
But, there's just a little bit deep. We'll look more into that, too. Because I always enjoy kind of looking up different directors and stuff, and kind of just seeing their past histories and stuff like that. It's always good knowledge to have, and
it's always good.
Besides talking Star Wars, I always love talking movies too.
Yeah.
Which soon we're working on. I mean, our podcast it airs on moviedissection.com, which is our partnership. It is our kind of franchise, I guess you would say. To where we have a plan for a bunch of new kind of content that we want to add to there.
Yeah, there's a lot more we want to release.
Yeah, so definitely, subscribe and just check us out,
Definitely.
And
do it. Don't hesitate.
Yeah. And one more small thing before we get into Rebels. I want to talk a little bit about the Tarkin not audiobook. Well, that's what I'm looking at. But I mean, both. Well, I guess both audiobook
they gave us
and the normal book, the Tarkin book.
Yes.
Because I just watched, or I guess listened to a little bit. They showed an audiobook preview of what's to come, pretty much.
Yeah.
And what I got out of this kind of preview that they showed us is that this book is gonna answer a lot of I think a lot of questions about the formation of Imperials and what happened to all the clone troopers, and what happened to these planets that that the Republic had and stuff, and what it's used now for the Imperials. I think it's going to answer a lot of that, and I totally feel like this is going to be a dark book. It just seems like you're following.
Yeah, just by the sound, and even the look of it when you look at the cover. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be.
I mean, you're following this menace of a guy. I mean,
yeah. Is he a general or an agent? What is?
Well, he's I don't know. He's a Moff, because it's Grand Moff Tarkin, and I don't know too much about military ranking. But I mean, he's high up there if he's the one telling Darth Vader what to do.
Oh yeah,
telling the most feared guy of the galaxy listens to him. Remember in A New Hope where Darth Vader's choking that Imperial, and then he's like, "That's enough." Grand Moff, that's enough, Vader, and he listens to him.
Yeah,
like Darth Vader listens to him. That
makes you wonder
crazy.
What he went through to get to that rank too. I think that's going to be really interesting.
So I'm really interested, and I hope they kind of explain maybe his relationship with whatchamacallit, Emperor Palpatine.
Oh,
and maybe I'm really excited about this book.
It seemed like after reading into it, I'm a lot more excited than when I just seen it, because I'm like, it's about like an Imperial general or whatever. I wasn't too interested in it, but now after actually reading into it a little bit more and you explaining it, I'm very excited for it. And
it's also written by James Luceno, which is known as the guy who wrote Plagueis. And nice. That's like known as one of really good Star Wars book. I
haven't read it, but I've heard.
Yeah, I haven't read it either. I just never got around to it, but I always hear great things about it. And I heard that book pretty much makes the prequels even more epic because of the whole backstory of Plagueis and whatnot. That's awesome. But yeah, that's Tarkin. It comes out November 4th. So we're definitely gonna pick up that book right away. Yeah. We're gonna read it, and we're gonna definitely make a video solely reviewing that book.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we're not gonna try to combine two things again.
Like we did in episode 2. It was a lot. We reviewed both A New Dawn and Spark of Rebellion, right?
Which is a longer episode than actually.
Which is 2 episodes if you think about it. So we reviewed 3 things in like an hour and 30 minutes.
And there was so much more I wanted to talk about in the book and stuff that I felt rushed. I felt too rushed that I couldn't talk about everything I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's you want to go ahead and go into the show? I kind of completely unstructured everything.
No, no.
Usually we do news first and then we go into the show. But
you know what it was? We're just so excited to talk about this episode.
Excited about these things
because I think I'll talk for both of us when I say I think me and you both are really liking Zeb's character.
Yeah,
and I'm actually really liking Ezra too.
I actually like Chopper a lot too. He brings a great comedic aspect to the show.
I kind of I wasn't annoyed with him. I mean, I was making fun of him because he does sound like just a bunch of farts. But I'm actually really liking his grumpiness of his character. He does have a great comedic element to him.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you on there. Let's talk about the focus on Zeb and Ezra, because that's basically what this episode was about, was that focus on them and then creating that bond towards the end.
Yeah.
So what basically how they acted in the beginning. Basically they're fighting and stuff like that. What was your reaction to them in the beginning, then to them at the end?
Well, it was great to see, because we mentioned last podcast that you could kind of tell that this is going to be a Legolas Gimli type of relationship.
Yeah,
that's exactly where in the beginning they don't like each other, at all. I mean, in the Spark of Rebellion, Zeb leaves Ezra alone. Like he was so annoyed with him that he didn't. He could have tried to do something to get him back, but he kind of just let him go.
Yeah.
And then when the first episode came out, Ezra saved Zeb's life, which kind of started this new kind of relationship with them.
Yeah.
And it was great to see, because in the beginning of the episode, they were annoyed with each other and totally did not want to do this mission that Hera was sending them on.
Yeah, not at all.
And then by the end of this episode, it didn't feel rushed at all, too. It's like the flow of this whole episode with the relationship between Zeb and Ezra seemed to just go really well, because by the end of this episode, they're like the biggest pals.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel rushed, like I said.
Yeah, but it wasn't just like a click of the finger and, we're buddies and stuff like that.
We're buddies now. They really just bonded between,
between each other. Which really surprises me with this is that within a 30-minute episode, they're able to do that. To bond these characters, then you feel both for these characters. And going back to where you talk about the first episode, that brings me to the point. Another focus on this episode was Ezra always bringing it up to Zeb that he saved his life.
Yeah,
and it was funny, but Zeb definitely was getting annoyed by it, because
I'd get annoyed by that.
Yeah,
like, you keep using that. I mean, you can remind me once in a while, but if you keep reminding me and like keep basically trying to use it to ask for favors, I'd get annoyed too.
Exactly.
It's like, well, I saved your life, so you better do this.
Like when you told him to hold some of the items that they picked up. It's like, you're going to make me hold it, the one who saved your life?
Yeah. But it was kind of great to see that too, because it was funny.
Yeah, definitely. And going to, I want to talk about Chopper a little bit. Because in the beginning, I started laughing from the beginning because it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And where Ezra's trying to, basically at this point, Ezra's trying to focus on using the Force and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it seems like Kanan's teaching him, and so he's using it. And you think he's lifting this bolt, but it turns out just to be Chopper messing with him.
Yeah.
Chopper was holding it.
and Chopper, basically, he's the reason why a lot of this kind of happened in a
Everything
way.
happens, yeah.
But yeah, I'm really growing to like Chopper a lot. I really like his.
He has a funny personality, just like with R2D2. R2D2 could be really funny at times, but he has more of a serious and helpful, aspect or personality to him, whichever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm really liking Chopper. Then Chopper was the one too who took out the screws from his bunk bed, and Ezra sleeps on top, and that's where the whole fight basically came from, because Ezra slammed down on Zeb,
which is kind of funny too, because you asked me the relationship from the beginning of the episode and the end. In the beginning they're fighting, but then at the end they're fighting, but in like a
playful,
kind of playful, like bro kind of way, just like punching each other and
bro punches,
brunches. But kind of this episode, since it was just about these two, I'm excited for future episodes. I'm even excited about episode just about Chopper. I mean, I'm excited for these episodes. I'm excited for an episode with just Kanan and Ezra about Jedi training, which they have to have an episode like that.
They have to,
or an episode with just Kanan and Hera, or even an episode just about Sabine's character.
Yeah,
there's so much
because she plays a little part in this too.
A very
towards
small
the end
part. And we mentioned in the past before is that they're doing a great way of basically showing the personalities of these characters by the voice acting and the way that they look, and even the animation is to where it's becoming really easy to kind of understand the traits of each character, and we're only a couple episodes in. So I really feel like I really know these characters.
Exactly. It's good too to see what them a little bit more too when you see what they do in situations.
Yeah.
And during certain situations and stuff like that. And okay, so we're talking a little bit about Chopper. Let's talk a little bit about the errand that Hera decides to put Ezra and Zeb on. So the whole thing, they got, Ezra fell on Zeb, they started fighting, and Hera basically, it really seems like Hera's the leader of everything, even compared to Kanan. Because as soon as she, showed up, they stopped.
Yeah.
Started blaming each other.
I mean, Kanan is definitely also the other leader.
Yeah.
But without Hera, Kanan would still be, working at a bar or something. Yeah. So Hera really is kind of the main, she kind of is. She's the Rick of this group. You know what I mean? She's the Rick Grimes. Yeah, she's the Rick Grimes of this group.
Who the hell's Rick?
Which I really like, because I really want to know her character more, though. They didn't focus too much on her character on A New Dawn. We didn't get to see too much in these episodes so far, so I'm really excited to kind of learn more about her. And learn more about her past and whatnot.
That's what I want to learn about her backstory. I want to know where she came from and why she is the way she is. Going after the Imperials and stuff like that. What's her reason behind it? And then, so Zeb and Ezra, they go on this supply run. And basically stupid me, forgot to put in my notes. I don't remember the planet. Do you remember the planet they were on?
I don't remember the planet.
We're so bad at
was it the same? Isn't it the same planet that they've been at?
It might be. It's desert. I know it's desert. So
it kind of. I just thought it was the same planet that was in Spark of Rebellion and whatnot that they kept going back to.
Yeah,
because that was kind of like their temporarily
go-to place.
It's like their go-to place, pretty much. Their kind of secret base and whatnot. Yeah,
so they go to this bed. They have a list of stuff they need to get. And, of course, Hera tells them to also get that Milieu Run, or Milieu. I don't even know. How do you pronounce it?
Mellow Run?
Mellow Run?
Mellow Run. I think it's just Mellow Run.
Yeah, that's what we're going to call it.
Mellow Run. Yeah, it is a weird name.
We're going to call them melons.
It's a fruit.
Run. It's a fruit.
It's fruit.
And, so she has them get this fruit. And, of course, the fruit doesn't grow in that desert area, so she knows it's going to take them a while if they're even able to find it.
Yeah.
And in doing so, let's talk a little bit about this guy that Ezra runs into while looking for this fruit, basically. So he runs into Mr. Sumar, which is a family friend. I don't think it gives you too much information on who he was or who he was to the family.
It basically just shows that basically, when they bring up him and they bring up Ezra, he talks about that he knew his parents. I'm really interested in to know what happened.
That's what I was just going to say, yeah, because I was just thinking about that.
And I wonder if it was something that was a little bit more recent, and I wonder if it has anything to do with the Clone Wars or with Imperials,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, we didn't get too much from his character. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't too much about that guy's character.
Yeah.
Anything you have about him?
No, I mean, they really don't give you much on him, other than he was a family friend. I think it was just supposed to shine light on Ezra knowing somebody from this place.
He was basically just a plot device for someone to save later on.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what happens. Okay, so he meets him, and then meeting him and stuff, he finds the fruit. And he goes to buy it, but of course...
they find on accident, don't they?
Yeah, he bumps into it. I forgot why he bumped into it.
Wasn't him and Zeb fighting?
Oh, yeah, him and Zeb fighting.
Yeah.
And he, like,
and then they both saw it, I thought. Did they? Did they both see it, or just Zeb? I mean, just Ezra.
it was just Ezra.
Okay.
Zeb wasn't there at this point.
Okay.
I forgot how he bumped into it. I think he was backing up or something. But he bumped into it, seen it, asked the guy if he could buy it.
Yeah.
And the guy said it's already sold. And then who's it sold to? The Imperials. He sees the Stormtroopers and then that Imperial agent general. I'm not even sure if they said his name in that episode.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
But so one thing I find kind of funny too is the weapon that Ezra carries. Because like he pulls it out like when he sees the stormtroopers and the guy like as he's hiding behind the crate. Yeah. And like it's basically like electronic slingshot.
Basically, I mean, it
doesn't do very much at all, though.
It stuns you, and what's interesting is that a lot of people always make fun of stormtroopers because of their armor. Yeah. And like how they get destroyed by a bunch of Ewoks and rocks and stuff. Yeah. And one blaster shot kills them. It's like, what's the point of this armor? They have so much armor on. What does it do? Well, you find out this episode that little slingshots actually don't penetrate this armor.
They don't do anything, just
so
like
they're
stuns
prepared
them, like, for a second.
For little kids who annoy them. So that's what the Imperials invest on. Armor
that's
that
like who they defend themselves against.
Basically, electric pebbles. That's what they defend themselves against. And I think that's all that little thing does. I think it just...
I think after the Ewoks,
stuns you.
They decided to prepare themselves for something different.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we can't handle these guys, so let's focus on kids
for a little bit. The smaller, the deadlier they are.
Yeah. Yeah, so I found that funny. And in the episode, too, you see one thing going, it's kind of fast-forwarding towards the end or whatnot, but where he does a slingshot and the stormtrooper brings up that he can't penetrate it, but then he throws the fruit at him, and it, like, knocks him down off the thing and, like, kills him or whatever. So funny.
There's a lot of great funny moments, because, they were taking a jab at what I was just talking about in the whole rock situation and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, he just starts throwing the fruit at him. That was a great scene. There was a lot of great kind of comedic elements to this episode.
There was. That's why I love watching them too.
And you know what? It's great comedy. It's not Jar Jar comedy. It's not like, ooh,
it's
look at me.
It's not forced. It's not.
Jar Jar's comedy is so forced and annoying. It's just a clown. That's all Jar Jar is. It's basically just a clown who's trying to trip and
maybe
be
entertain
funny.
Kids or something. But
but this is definitely comedy that older people like us can enjoy and whatnot.
Yeah, especially when you watch the old, like they do a lot of jabs towards the original trilogy and like the things that people make fun of.
That we get more than a young kid might get, but understand. But a young kid will still laugh because he's like, "Oh, Stormtrooper fell from a fruit." It's still funny.
Violence is funny.
Violence is funny. We've learned that.
It is true. We've learned
through
that
old cartoons and everything.
All right, so Ezra goes ahead and sees that the stormtroopers and Imperials whatnot they have this fruit, so he finally bumps into Zeb, and Zeb got everything else on the list. They just needed that fruit. Yeah, and of course, that's where Ezra decides to bring it up to Zeb after Zeb asked him to carry it. Saying, you're going to make me carry it? Of course, bringing up saving his life to him. But then he decides to steal. Zeb was against stealing it. Mm-hmm. But, Ezra's like, it's the Imperials. Who cares? Let's let's take it. And so he attempts to take it, and of course he gets caught. Yeah. Gets caught by a stormtrooper.
In the process, don't they lose all their other supplies that they're trying to get?
Yeah, because Zeb threw it at the stormtroopers in order to save Ezra.
Which is pretty funny because I think towards the end of the episode, Hera pretty much did not cared too much about these supplies. They weren't that of importance because didn't they just come back with like one mellow run fruit?
I think so. Yeah, it's just something.
So I mean,
I think the whole point was just to get them out there together.
It was, and that was great that she did that because if you're trying to start this team, you want to be.
You need to act like a team.
You need to act like 100% of a team.
Yeah, can't hesitate with that. And then this was the coolest part to me in the episode, and like it was one of those like fist pumping moments. Like when you see it is so Zeb gets caught by these stormtroopers after throwing the items. He's kind of like blocked from both ends as Ezra runs away or whatnot. And did Ezra have a piece of fruit at that time? Did he still have the? No, you run with him. I don't know if he had it or not. I think he put it back or whatever. But so Zeb's blocked off by these people, and then of course there's a TIE fighter. You know, the general, whatever, gets in that TIE fighter, or whoever gets in the TIE fighter, and it's right on the ground. Which is another cool thing I think about the TIE fighters. Is how they can just hover over the ground like that. Like it doesn't have to be in space, or
it kind of. You
don't need an airport to fly away. Like
it's really cool because I mean like. If you think the great thing about the shape of the TIE fighter is how it can kind of maneuver in this kind of like it can just make very sharp turns compared to an X-wing as to where
X-wing's more like a plane.
It's more like a plane.
More room to
exactly.
Turn. Yeah, so this dude's like pointing the TIE fighter at him, and so Zeb being whatever. What is Zeb exactly?
I'm not sure what his species is.
I know they were designed off the Wookiees, like you said, right?
Yeah, and they're a rare species right now.
Yeah. Well, so he jumps on the TIE fighter, and then from there steals it, pops the dude out of it and whatnot, and takes over it, which I thought was just awesome. Yeah. I love the fact that he took TIE fighter, and then he started shooting at the stormtroopers and stuff like that.
And from there on, it was a pretty awesome train ride of craziness with that TIE fighter. I thought that TIE fighter was actually gonna he was gonna use it, but then something was gonna happen. It was gonna blow up. Yeah. But they really take advantage of this one TIE fighter throughout this whole episode.
They really did, and the way he maneuvered it through the market, like sideways, trying to get it, and then he sees Ezra, running, of course, and then you do see Ezra a few times do his force jump. Yeah. Where you see, I think in one of the scenes where he focuses on doing it, you could really see him like extend and focus on.
I get so excited to see that.
So do I.
I get so excited seeing Ezra that he's so into being like learning this Jedi ability. Yeah, like, he's so excited to do this, almost like how kind of Anakin was. Yeah, like, he was very excited.
Wanted to do it.
He was excited, but he was annoying.
Yeah,
in the thing. But Ezra, I'm not really annoyed by Ezra, and I'm really excited to see his character grow up season by season.
Definitely.
But
yeah, definitely. And during the scene, as he's going throughout the market, he's at first Ezra thinks it's just a TIE fighter, and he's like, oh, I can't deal with this. Yeah. And then he finds out it's Zeb and whatnot, and as he's running throughout these buildings and stuff, Zeb says he'll save him, but only if he stops talking about him saving his life. So basically they're even and whatnot. And so then finally Ezra's like, okay, and they get in the TIE fighter together and stuff. And this was one of like the funniest parts, I think, is when they were talking to Kanan while they're in the TIE fighter, because they whatever you call it, command prompt, whatever, got to him, and then he's like Kanan was mad that they took this TIE fighter because it's GPS, they can track him. He's like, you took out the tracker, right? And they're like, yeah. And like as they're finding it, like he's like, it's the red one, right? Like Kanan could hear him and Zeb going back and forth. And then he tells him like it's blue or red or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, it was that one that I took out earlier. Yeah. But basically, just a good comedic aspect to
I mean, it was even funnier before too when they were just calling Kanan
from the TIE fighter.
Yeah, from the TIE fighter, and then Kanan eventually is like, wait, that sounds like a TIE fighter. It was like, and then Ezra was just kind of like, yeah, we kind of stole one. You stole one? You're like, what the heck is going on?
They send him on this errand to like get groceries, and they come back with a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
No, but going from the scene where he saves him, basically that's when they're on their way over to Kanan after they took out the tracker and stuff. After they're trying to figure out where it was and whatnot, and they see smoke coming from Mr. I always forget Sumar. Mr. Sumar's house. And, Ezra recognizes that it's his house. And that was because, one thing I forgot to explain, during the market scene when Ezra met him and hid from the Imperials, to see what was going on, the Imperials wanted Mr. Sumar's farm.
Yeah,
and
very much related to when we talked last podcast as to how the Imperials relate to Nazis. Pretty much.
You definitely see it in this episode.
He was like, "Do you want? Can you sell this farm?" Or basically, the Imperials were asking them to buy this farm from this guy.
Yeah,
this guy, that's his home. That's his life.
That's his life. That's what he does.
His job. Yeah. He didn't want to get rid of this farm.
Yeah.
And then eventually later on, the Imperials are just like, they don't care.
Yeah,
they basically just imprison them.
He says
for
no,
nothing.
and then they're like, okay, we'll just take it.
Well, then we'll just take it by force.
Yeah.
It just shows you how evil and dirty the Imperials are.
They really are. Yeah, definitely. And so Ezra and Zeb see this, and then Ezra knows who it is, and so then they both decide to go and save him. And I don't know what the vehicle transports were called, but they basically imprisoned Mr. Sumar and like a couple neighbors or something like that. I don't know if it was his wife or whatever. I think might have been with him too, and imprisoned them. And so Zeb and Ezra decide to come, and Zeb starts acting like an Imperial agent, getting them to slow down so that way Ezra can go ahead and jump on the ship. I thought that was pretty funny too.
Yeah, and great thing. A lot of these newer ships that they're showing, great designs that they're doing.
I really like those transports.
I feel like these were original designs.
Exactly.
And whatnot. They really fit.
It's unlike the prequels where they really steered away from the original designs. These kind of keep that.
Because they're going more towards, since it's going towards the original trilogy, they're going more towards that feel. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that this does feel different. It does feel like its own thing. Yeah,
definitely. That's another thing I love about the show. But yeah, so basically Ezra jumps on the ships and whatnot and goes to save them, and then they finally figure out that Zeb wasn't an agent or whatnot, so they speed back up and whatnot. And this is one of the coolest points, I think, that really pays attention to the beginning, where Ezra's trying to use the Force to move a bowl.
Yeah.
Ezra can't reach the button that he needs to basically let him free, so he uses the Force to do it, and he's successful with it.
Yeah.
And he does that, and then they jump out.
A great moment, a huge a homage to when in the heat of battle, in the heat of just something crazy going on, when Luke Skywalker in Empire, when he had to focus, and the first time you got to see him pretty much use the Force to get his lightsaber from the snow to save himself, and to get away from that
Yeti thing. I always forget what they call that thing. That thing's brutal looking, though.
Wampa?
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be
to get away from the Wampa, which was kind of like a homage to that.
Yeah.
And it was a great moment in the episode.
That was a cool moment, yeah. That's another thing I like, too. They really tie in certain moments within the episode itself to that, like, okay, he had trouble here, and then he was successful with it. Like, you see him grow just through that short 30 minutes of the episode. You see him grow in the Force already and stuff like that. And so he saves them, and then of course this is where we're talking about too, with Ezra using his slingshot against the stormtroopers, because the stormtroopers got on top of the transports and started fighting them and stuff like that. And that's where I thought it was funny that these slingshot really didn't do anything to their armor, but yet he throws a piece of fruit at one dude and he falls off.
Yeah,
and, like that, like completely injured him and whatnot. But I thought it was cool when Zeb came flying around and was shooting at it, and like Ezra was just like standing real still with like his arms in, and you just see the lasers like go like right past him, like right in right down the sides of him, takes out both stormtroopers.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a good source of like teamwork too. And another thing I thought was funny, as he goes to save Ezra from being stuck on this transport and whatnot, he controls the TIE fighter with his feet. Like he turns upside down and opens the hatch and like extends his arms out.
I mean, this was, I think, one of our friends, he liked the episode before this, the Droids in Distress.
Yeah.
I think this so far, this is my favorite episode. I really did enjoy it a lot.
This one. I enjoyed seeing C-3PO and R2-D2 in the first one. It was just nice to see him. Something from the original trilogy, something we already knew.
Yeah.
But this episode basically had more, I want to say more action in it than the last one.
It
had more of a character building to it.
Because, I mean, we keep mentioning this, but yeah, it was the character build of Zeb and Ezra, and
yeah, definitely. And yeah, so after he saves them, so they decide, they're going back and whatnot, and they crash the TIE fighter or something like that. Like, you don't see it, but they said they crashed it to Kanan because they didn't know how else to get rid of it.
Kanan wanted them to get rid of this thing, and I could tell Zeb kind of gives a look to Ezra as to, yo, we're not going to destroy this. This is too much fun.
Yeah.
So basically, you could tell that do they show where they hit it? They don't explain at all, do they?
I don't think so. No.
They just hint. They
just hint towards, like, because I had a feeling that they actually didn't crash it, but it'd be funny if they did.
I know they didn't. I know that they had to have hit it somewhere.
Because it doesn't have a tracker, so the Imperials can't track it.
And that's actually pretty cool, because maybe later on in a future episode, there might be a moment as to where they need a flying vehicle and they need a TIE fighter, or they needed to do something with it. So
that'd be cool.
It was good that they didn't actually listen to Kanan. They actually hit this thing. And by the end of this episode, we forgot to mention, I don't know if we briefly mentioned it, but whatchamacallit, in the beginning of the episode, Ezra was kind of going to Sabine, and you could tell Ezra kind of has a little crush on Sabine.
Yeah,
and
you can see that.
She's doing her art and stuff and whatnot, and trying to talk to her or whatever, and she witnesses when Zeb falls on top of Ezra from the bunk beds or whatever, and she gets inspired, and she's like in their room, and she's painting something. Yeah, and it's kind of funnier later on. Hera's just walking through like the ship, and then Sabine's like, oh, hold up, don't come in here yet or something. I'm making something, and Hera kind of walks away, and she's like, at least it's not my room.
Yeah, exactly.
But then it was great at the end of the episode that they showed when they walked back in
what she painted.
And it was basically that moment. And what came through my head is like, I wonder if they're gonna decorate their room like with various things that happen throughout episodes
that kind of make them grow.
So like really in the future episode, you see in the background, you could see that drawing that they did, and you could be like, I remember that episode. I really hope that they actually do that.
That's what I'm hoping they do. Now that you mentioned like that TIE fighter and stuff, that they go back to stuff that was in previous episodes. Yeah. As if like, because with a lot of cartoon animated based stuff, episode by episode really has nothing to do with each other. Yeah. But it'd be nice to see this act more like a TV show episode, like The Walking Dead or something, where each episode matters. Like, you'd want to see the episode before it, because there'd be hidden things in it.
What I think they're gonna do is what they did kind of like with Clone Wars, as to where Clone Wars they had that connection between all of them, but they had arcs, and they'll have like 3 or 4 episodes in an arc, and those will link up, but then if you want, you can watch all these arcs separate. Like, you don't really need to see that. But there might be... it's always best to go in order, though. So you can point out and find these little things like that. Yeah. But yeah, towards the end of the episode, we pretty much covered all the main parts, didn't we?
I want to say main points, at least, I know we covered. I think my notes are a little bit better than last time I wrote notes.
Well, I mean, we covered, I think, a lot this, going piece by piece. But I want to ask you, we're both really enjoying this series, but there's always some negatives, and we should always kind of bring up if we do have negatives. Was there any big negative, small negative, or anything that you just want to mention for the negatives of this episode?
Negatives of the episode. It's really hard for me a lot of times when talking positive and negatives, because when I enjoy something, it's hard to pick out a negative from it, because I don't really care about the negative. I'm too focused on the positive. Yeah. But I mean, if I absolutely had to pick out a negative from the show, I mean,
or just this specific episode, or if you want, if there's something that you're just not really liking the show overall.
Honestly, now that you bring that up to me and I'm on the spot right now, there really is no negative that I can think of that really is a negative for me. I mean, it's really hard to say what. I mean, I could talk about the animation, really critique the animation.
I mean, we mentioned really before about the Wookiees and stuff. I think really right now, it's a lot. If we do talk negatives, it's nitpicking.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I just want you guys to know, everyone who's listening, if there is a negative and stuff, I mean, we're gonna talk about it. If
there's a for me, it has to be a noticeable negative.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
now,
this is our honest opinions about each episode.
Yeah,
pretty much, and we're both kind of on the same page. But there might be times where you might like something and I just might not like it.
Yeah.
So, but for me, same with you. I don't really have like any huge negatives. I told you earlier today is that next to The Walking Dead, this is one of my favorite shows to watch right now, and a big part of it is my love for Star Wars, and pretty much get to watch history each week because of this being considered official canon. But there's kind of just, this is good storytelling.
It really is.
And really great content. I mean, we talked about 30 or 40 minutes this podcast just about one episode. We talked more about the episode than how long the episode aired.
The episode actually is.
And I mean,
you could really break things down within an episode and definitely talk about it.
The only negatives I can think is that I kind of want to see more stormtroopers and stuff like die. I know how that sounds bad, but I do want but that's just because I'm older and I do want that darker element.
You want a darker element
because I feel like Star Wars is the best when it does have its darker tones. And I think that's why Empire is my best or my favorite movie. Because it just has that darkness to it. And but as the show grows, it could be just like Clone Wars, and it could just get darker.
That's what I think they may do if it is going to get darker.
And they still do show death.
They do show death.
And
so it's not like
Spark of the Rebellion. The guy freaking kicked the stormtrooper off the thing, which was like great, kind of funny, dark comedic moment.
Exactly.
But I mean, sometimes I do get annoyed when a huge explosion happens and then like all the stormtroopers are okay. Or but I get it's a kids show, but
I mean,
I like realism. Even if it's a cartoon, I like there to be some realism to a situation, especially if this is going to be canon now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the original trilogy though too, and like it wasn't as dark as killing everyone. Like showing them, like I don't know if they ever really showed blood all the time.
No, I mean because they were PG movies. The only PG-13 one was Revenge of the Sith. And I mean overall that was a really dark movie.
That got like super dark, like Anakin
freaking killing kids
and stuff.
yeah, exactly.
It's like they just like completely went over. Like okay, let's get a little bit darker. Let's kill kids. Let's do that. Let's go as dark as we can.
Jeez, I thought George loved kids. What the heck is going on? I actually really did like that scene though.
It shows his dark.
It showed the extreme.
It was hard to think of though. Like
it showed the extreme of the dark side and how it can be possessive, basically.
Really. I love the way they made his eyes look too. That yellow, red.
I think that's why I like the Sith a lot. I'm really interested in Sith, the history of the Sith, and what goes through their minds, and just very interested in that. And I hope we get more in books
talking
that
about
explain
that
more
are
about
canon.
that.
Because like I've read Bane and I've read Revan, those book series, and I love the expanded universe.
But we don't know yet.
It's not canon anymore.
We don't know yet. I mean, it could be parts of it. Could be we know. At least spoiler alert for the last episode of Clone Wars, but you find out that they show Bane a little bit, so Bane's canon. So certain characters are canon, but
okay, good.
We just don't know what those specific books and whatnot are
if
canon yet.
The complete story is canon, but we know the character.
They're just cherry picking right now from all the expanded universe stuff that we did have. But throughout, I think that's pretty much our whole episode today.
And the way we did, the way I felt like I try to construct it through my notes and stuff like that is I'm trying through these podcasts to break it down scene by scene. So if there's a scene that like you want to know about or are kind of wondering our opinions about, that's why I'm trying to break this down scene by scene. Because before, I kind of did in this one too. I flip-flopped a little bit. I forgot about our news. But usually I want to...
We were just too excited to talk about this episode.
But usually I want to talk about scene by scene. That way you guys can follow. Like, so... you know what's coming up next. You know what we're going to talk about next. Or
and we apologize too if we do forget certain parts. Because, like we said before, there is a lot of stuff that does go through these episodes. So we apologize if there's.
Well, that's why we want people to comment too.
Yeah,
and if they comment, we can go back to those questions and answer them for them. I mean, we can't remember and cover every single thing that.
And I actually, this is our opinions on the episode. This is our review on the episode. But I really want to hear the general opinion of people who are listening.
Yeah, definitely. We can't wait to hear from you guys, and that'll be the end of our podcast. You can reach me on Twitter at Brandon J. Ochoa.
And you can reach me at Twitter at Brian Ochoa. And we are Movie Dissection. This is Womp, the Star Wars podcast, and I can't wait to hear from you guys next week.
Have a good one.